Welcome, fellow colleagues of Richland High School.
How about we try that from the top?
We're wearing matching socks.
With a bit of a better. Hey, that's kind of cool, actually. Whoa, yeah, my socks run on electricity.
Welcome, fellow colleagues of Richland High School. Today we present to you a project long in the making. Many of you may have heard of the epic proportions of the scandal between the SAT scores and GPAs of Mr. Chinook and Miss Co-host classes from the local news stations.
We are here to put this disputation to trial, and in the process, determine a verdict. And much like the Salem witch trials of 1692, we come prepared with concrete facts, well-drawn conclusions, and plenty of spiritual evidence that will surely help us put the culprit behind bars.
So did you know how cold it was this morning?
Oh yeah.
I was trying to take a picture of the fog, but it got a little bit too warm, so I missed my chance. No, it's okay. I guess I could do it tomorrow.
Hey, dude, it's like, do you think about this in the car ride to school? Here, we have a graph. It's not just... I was looking at you, sorry. Now here...
I'll kill you.
Are you kidding
no,
me?
Don't worry. AP Physics class. No, wait. AP Stats class.
AP Calculus class.
Peter's looking for a girl.
Love.
Yeah, for tomorrow. Tomorrow.
By the time they see this
desperate.
video, it'll be Friday.
Exactly. So
I'll have
tomorrow.
12 hours.
You.
No, I'm already going to the Oyster Festival.
Our boy needs a date to prom.
Actually, I need a date for the Oyster Fest. Now here, we have a graph. It's not just any plain old run-of-the-mill graph. Moreover, it's a bar graph. Now what we can see here is that 50% of the GPAs of Mr. Chinook's students are higher than 75% of the GPAs of Mrs. Co-host students. This alone in itself is suspicious, but there's more.
What did the buffalo say when his kid left? Bye, son. And like we said, there's more. The same holds for the SAT scores of both teachers. Yet again, 50% of the scores of Mr. Chinook students are higher than 75% of the scores of Miss Co-host students. Why? Dude, yeah, no, we went to this crawfish boil. If it wasn't recording that
I
day.
hope I didn't stick it on the wrong mode.
The little boiny sandals.
He's probably got a massive p-value. Colossal. Now for our next exhibit, one may need some background to understand. This is concerning the confounding world of p-values. We start with a graph of a normal distribution, or a bell curve. As mentioned many weeks ago, we typically determine statistical significance with a 95% certainty cutoff rate. As long as the p-value falls within the 95% of the total area of the graph of the bell curve, denoted by two standard deviations, or 1.96 and negative 1.96 respectively on the x-axis, we can confirm the null hypothesis that the difference in data is due to random chance. The p-value is typically determined with a free online calculator. Our p-value underneath this cutoff rate of 1.96 and negative 1.96 showed that the difference in results for both SAT scores and GPAs was not statistically significant.
Dude, no, okay, but actually, did you hear that, dude, Nicolas Cage just died.
I think we left out an important part.
What did we leave out?
The whole...
Everything else. In Mr. Chinook's graph of the SAT scores, the shape is very roughly, bimodal and symmetric. This is an extremely rough approximation. Rougher than sand, which is coarse and rough and irritating. It gets everywhere. The GPA for Chinook is very roughly unimodal and symmetric. The shape of Miss Coho's GPA graph is roughly unimodal and skewed to the right. The shape of Coho's SAT scores are roughly unimodal and symmetric. The only graph with outliers is Mrs. Coho's SAT score graph, and Mr. Chinook's didn't have any notable outliers. The centers of Mr. Chinook's graph are both slightly farther to the right than Miss Coho's, and Miss Coho's SAT graph has a slightly lower variability than Mr. Chinook's.
There was a statistician that drowned trying to cross a river. It was 3 feet deep, on average.
We don't know about y'all, but all this evidence and culmination seems to be pretty damning. Damning in favor of the null hypothesis, of course. Concerning the graphs, there are noticeable differences in the spreads, outliers, centers, and shapes. However, they're all somewhat marginal in the whole scope of things. The analysis of the bar graphs give more convincing evidence against the null hypothesis, but we must remember that most of the data in all compared sets intersects within a significant range.
The real nail in the coffin, though, is the convoluted p-value explanation of statistical significance. Although it was slightly fishy, our objectively boring conclusion is that there was no meddling going on. Thank you for tuning in to this week's edition of InfoWars. Next week, we will be addressing the globalist propaganda covering up a mind control facility disguised as a weather station in Alaska. Thanks for y'all's time. Yeah, it's because Biggie was such a philanthropist.
Yeah,
You know what I
he
mean? He
was.
was a generous man. When we start recording.
Okay, so glad you're still going to be a child predator.
You need context.
Hey, no you don't. Hey Peter. Hey.
What?
Hey. Did you hear about the cheese factory that exploded in France?
No.
Yeah.
Please tell me about it.
The only thing left was debris.
Oh. This is so bad.
We are here to put an end to this dispute. Oh, son of a...
I barely know. I'm sorry. I'm stupid.
How dare... No, it's
Out.
alright. We
now.
got one word in. You're good.
This could have been the perfect take.
It could have been.
Shame.
Could have been the perfect sun, but you didn't take anyone to homecoming.
Chances are it could have been god awful as well, Peter.
That's a valid point.
Yeah.
Statistically, numbers are like people. Torture them enough, and they'll tell you anything.
A few years ago, I made like a peanut butter and honey sandwich.
Oh no, it's on the chair.
Uh-oh. And then I brought it downstairs, and then I somehow got it on the duck.
We can't put this in the video now because
Oh, but yeah, he does paw, by the way.
Hi.
He does paw.
Oh, you're so cute.
Heads, you do the first half. Tails, you do the second half. No.
No. Yes.
Oh, is that head?
Dude, there was some.
Wait a second. First, in all compared sets intersects within a significant range. That's a lot of S's.
Yeah, I'm gonna butcher that just a little bit. But we must remember that most of the data in all compared sex.
Freudian slip.
It was all a dream. I used to read Word Up magazine.
Saw
Something
every
had
deep
to
in
do
the
with-
magazine. Yeah, hang a picture of my wall, blah 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 blah.
Reset our day, rep attack, Mr. Magic Ball.
Tape
something-
pop. I let my tape rock till my tape pop. Sipping on bamboo. No wait, smoking on bamboo. and
Smoking
sipping-
weed and bamboo,
yes,
sipping on private stock.
Exactly. Way back when I had
With
the
the
red
red
and black
and
lumberjack
with
and
the
the
hat
hat
to
to
match.
match.
Remember rapping, dude? Daha. You never thought that hip hop would take it this far. Now I'm in the limelight because I rhyme tight.
Time to get paid.
Look like the world trade. Born
Sinner. Wait, no, was it
Born sinner, the opposite
of a winner?
of a winner.
Remember when I used to eat sardines for dinner?
This is going in.
Yeah, well, you know what's even better? The flaccid dog penis, where he sits right here and it's like right between your legs, and he like squishes his whole body between your thighs. Exactly.
How
what
often do
is-
you get an erection?
exactly what is the frequency? Please let us know.
Should we stratify based on gender?
No. We'll do match.